Well, I never like being the bearer of bad news, but the older you get, the more chances of a place that you consider sacred ground that you spent years hanging out at will eventually no longer exist. Be it your high school, a sports venue, or a favorite bar, these types of properties get bought and sold with different visions in mind on the daily. That can lead to the businesses closing and never reopening, being torn down, or being torn down and rebuilt into something that you just don't recognize, all of which are kind of heartbreaking. For all three examples, I have someplace like that in Mansfield, Ohio, where I grew up. For the place being rebuilt into something I didn't recognize, it was Score's Sports Bar. For the business simply just being torn down completely, that was Park Lanes. And for just being closed and letting its corpse rot out in front of everybody, that was KB Toys, where I worked at for 6 years, and of course, Mansfield Speedway. Now, in 2025, Mansfield Speedway has a new lease on life, a new owner with Matt Tifft, and apparently a much friendlier local political environment to thrive in. With all the updates coming from the track rebuild comes all of your questions about how I feel about it, and I'm going to address them the best I can. Mansfield Speedway holds a very special place in my heart. Not only was it the place I started racing, cut my teeth in one of the most competitive fields in the country, got my first win, and holds memories that both I can and cannot share publicly, it was one of the only places I felt safe while living in Ohio. And to me, it will always be hallowed grounds. Growing up, Mansfield was a dirt track, and I frequented it as often as I could get an adult to take me there. Once I got my license, I went a lot more, dreaming of the day that I too could race there. I met Richard Petty, Richard Childress, and Michael Waltrip at a big fan event, and crewed for a lot of drivers just to get closer to the action. Then, a pretty radical thing happened. They paved it. 18-degree progressive banking now doubled the speeds, and to boot, new grandstands, concessions, ticket booth, tech sheds, the works. A complete overhaul on the property made our little hometown track something to be reckoned with on a larger scale in the racing world, and I couldn't wait to get on it. I'll cut myself short of going down memory lane and just say that I have a deep and rich history with the old gal. The track's future was up in the air when I left Mansfield for good in 2007, and it's been tumultuous ever since. I think it was around 2017 or so, I saw that they tore up the asphalt on the track and had taken it back to dirt, and it boggled my mind. Millions of dollars of asphalt gone. Much to the approval of dirt racers who tend to forget that the NASCAR connection that the track has, it came from being paved. Let me be clear, I do respect dirt racing. I've done a little bit of it myself, but I prefer asphalt, both to spectate and race on. So my initial response from the early vids Matt Tifft put out there were pretty negative, considering it wasn't going back to asphalt. Had it not been torn out in 2017, we might be having a very different conversation about her today. Or we might not. I know that the pavement had been a tough upkeep since they had to tear up some of the track to fix the drainage problems between the 03 and 04 seasons, so by the time it was tore out, might have been too far gone to save, who knows. Regardless, I realized that I had to take a step back from my rose-tinted glasses from my time there. There is a pretty unique time frame of when it was asphalt, and that's where the bulk of my memories lie. I also realized through fellow cruiser Dylan Dreimeyer, who is an avid dirt racer, that dirt has long since become the more popular form of racing in the Midwest, so maybe Mansfield Speedway going back to its roots isn't the worst thing. In a live Q&A, Matt Tifft admitted that he thought about putting asphalt back down, but just wasn't in the budget, nor the popularity for the area that the track is in. I remember hearing some numbers on how much it was to turn her into an asphalt track back in 1999 when it was done, and I can certainly respect Tifft for not wanting to put out that kind of cash in 2025 money. I also like the fact that in that same Q&A, Tiff said that local racers wouldn't be barred from racing at the track, showing that even though the track's upcoming planned events were more on a national stage, he wouldn't forget the local racers. There isn't going to be a track championship to win anymore like it was when I raced there, but local racing shows will open up for larger regional and national traveling events, which is something I respect Tiff for. After my local track down here was purchased and local racers were not welcome. While I'm excited to see some of the big shows and fancy stuff that Tiff is going to introduce to the track, I'm not quite sure that he's done his demographical homework.
Mansfield Mayor Don Culliver says the closing of the Mansfield Ontario Medical Center will also have a devastating effect on his city's economy.
More than 650 dedicated, hard-working steelworkers in Mansfield, Ohio showed up for work every day at AK Armco Steel, a company that has enjoyed record earnings. But in spite of that, and without provocation or warning, management
Tiff is from the Cleveland area, which is a very well-to-do area. However, Mansfield is not. Like so many towns in the Midwest, it once was a hotbed for American manufacturing and had factories for Westinghouse, Tappan, General Motors, even a massive steel mill. And like so many towns in the Midwest, all those factories closed and Midwest rot set in with high unemployment rates and rampant drug use. While I lived there, it was a local joke, though it wasn't very funny, that Mansfield's biggest modern export was inmates. Mansfield still isn't a well-off area with only about 78,000 residents, and while it does have a lot of smaller surrounding towns, most of them suffer from Midwest rot as well. So I question where the massive audience is going to come from to pay for these big plans that he has for the track, like the Jumbotron and Beer Garden. The first year Mansfield had the NASCAR Craftsman Truck Series, they only put around 15,000 butts in those seats, and that number sharply declined the next year, even with the track giving out massive amounts of complimentary tickets. To sum it up, I am ecstatic that there is fresh life at Mansfield Speedway. While it may not be the track surface I got my first wins on, the fact that Mansfield residents, some of which I know still, can go out there and enjoy it once again and make all new memories at makes me very happy. I understand that my time at the Speedway was a pretty unique one while it was paved. But times change, and if the changes to the track are what she needs to live on, then I'm on board with whatever changes Matt Tiff feels that he has to make to keep her alive. My biggest hope is to see another race car out there with a Cruiser sticker on it someday. Anyways, remember, friends of the family get to choose. I'll see you next time, fellow Cruisers.